when they walk in and they see a 25 pound rabbit, they usually say, "Oh my God, I thought it was a dog that had rabbit ears, fake ears on." Or, is that real? Have had their flights delayed and they're stuck in the airport and this moment just really made them happy or smile. And now they're happy that their flight was delayed because they got to see the rabbits. Like more than ever, there's delays and, TSA issues and things like that. And people are more afraid of flying and flying with families. There's so much stress in the world now. So to have people just interact with a bunny for a few minutes and, they take pictures and they're sending them to people, and it's just really special. It's a really nice thing to just make somebody's day and have them tell you that. I've gotten so many reactions and just people are always shocked. Like, what are you doing here? Why is this rabbit here? What is your purpose?
Welcome back to Tales of Fluff. I'm AJ.
And I'm Emily. We hope you are all doing well and are excited for today's episode. Today is a pretty unique one for us. We are taking fluff to a whole new level, literally. So, most of us have been to an airport at one time or another, and I'm sure we can all relate to how stressful traveling can be. But what if we told you that there is a fluffy, cuddly, not so little animal waiting to cuddle before you take off on your flight? I don't know about you, but most of my stress would melt away at that moment. And although dogs are incredible, that is not the cuddly fluff we are talking about today.
Nope. And although they get mistaken for dogs, they are actually giant rabbits who are bringing comfort to travelers at the Bradley Airport. Now, this is a unique type of therapy animal that we will be talking about, but it also shows how incredible any species of animal can be and the comfort they can bring us in times when we need them the most. With that being said, we had an absolute pleasure of chatting with Nicole from Bigbunlittledog.
It was an amazing look into the animal therapy world from a different perspective. What Nicole is doing is so special. She brings her giant therapy rabbits into Bradley Airport to help stressed out travelers. And her favorite part of it all? Their reactions. So grab your pet, get comfortable, and let's jump in. We started out by asking Nicole to take us back to the moment it all started and how she even got the airport to say yes to a bunny.
So I started doing pet therapy with my rabbits probably 5 or 6 years ago. I've done it with a few of my rabbits at this point, and we've gone into nursing homes and schools and medical facilities and things like that. But it wasn't until I moved to where I live now about 2.5 years ago, where I'm right about 15 minutes away from Bradley Airport. And I started getting back into it when I was here and going to nursing homes and things. And I kind of wondered if the airport had something like that. I happened to see something about them having therapy dogs. So I wondered if they were open to anything else. So I reached out to them about a year and 4 months ago. I think it was January of 2025. And they have 18 dogs there now. And they love the idea of having some giant rabbits. And the group that they have there doesn't certify, most places don't certify animals outside of dogs. It's mostly specific to dogs. So I'm with a group called Pet Partners, and they're a national organization, one of the largest that actually certifies other things. So they'll do miniature horses, they'll do cats, they'll do rabbits, they'll do guinea pigs. So there was a process that took about a year for them to, I don't know what it looked like in the background, but get the rabbits get approved through Pet Partners or whatever kind of background documentation they needed. And then we kind of got things rolling early this year. And I actually just started there about a little over a month ago. So it's pretty new to me, but it's been a really, really rewarding experience.
That's awesome. Now, this isn't one of the questions, but I want to ask this. How big are your rabbits?
So my two giants, I have four rabbits, but my two giants are the certified ones. So I have a 22-pound Continental Giant named Berlin. She's about 3.5 years old. And then I have a younger boy who's still growing just a little bit. They grow until they're about a year and a half. His name is Bon Jovi, and he's about 25 pounds. So he's a German giant. So he's a little bit bigger.
Wow, that's crazy. Because when we first got married, we actually got a bunny. We got a little lion head bunny. So she
Oh,
was like,
yep.
that was your first one that you got?
That was the first one I did pet therapy with. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're very calm, but like compared to those sizes, she was so tiny compared to that. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's funny because my lop is larger and she's 10 pounds and she's a fraction of them. They even look so much bigger than, double her size.
I found that so interesting because you usually think of animal therapy certification being mainly for dogs, because that's usually what you see. But now that organizations like Pet Partners recognize miniature horses and even guinea pigs, that's just so amazing. It really opens the doors for so many animals to help people.
It really does. But the fact that it took about a whole year for the airport to get the paperwork settled shows how serious this work is. And AJ, can we just talk about how big Berlin and Bon Jovi are? Berlin being 22 pounds, and Bon Jovi still has some growing to do, but is already 25 pounds. That's huge.
Yeah, and those are some huge rabbits. I was so surprised to hear just how big they are. That's like a size of a medium dog or close to it. I know sometimes we have a fair that comes into town and they bring their show rabbits, and it's always so impressive to see the size difference from the tiny bunnies to the huge ones. And to know they're just there chilling at the airport, that would be definitely a sight to see. Now, since bunnies are prey animals and can be a bit skittish, we had to ask, did they just have it naturally or did it take a lot of specific training to get them airport ready?
So rabbits are prey animals, so they tend to be nervous in certain situations and they don't like to be held generally, but with mine being so large, I wanted to make sure that I worked with them a lot and that I was able to hold them. I was able to look into their ears. I was able to do their nails. So I do spend a lot of time with all of my rabbits, making sure that they're used to being handled and that they are okay being out. I take them out places. When I worked in veterinary diagnostics, the rabbits used to come to work with me sometimes and visit hospitals with me. So I take them out for little bits and I kind of add on to that as time goes on, just so that they're used to every situation and that I don't have anything that surprises them because they can be very high stress. I have a lot of people say that they can't pick up their rabbits and things like that. So I have worked with them quite a bit to be able to do the things I can do with them.
The training that she has done with them makes so much sense. You can't just drop a bunny into a terminal with suitcases and crowds around them and expect them to be chill. After all, like she said, they are prey animals. So with that can come the need to spend extra time with them just so that they're comfortable with being in an environment that can be loud and fast paced. And that trust she built, where they let her check their ears and handle them at an early age, that just shows she was leading them to success in being comfortable in that environment.
Exactly. It shows the effort and time she takes with them to be able to have them bring that comfort to others. So, with our next question, we wanted to know from Nicole, what is it specifically about rabbits that makes them the best fit for this type of work?
They're just so sweet and they're so comforting. It's just nice to be around their presence. I don't think people give rabbits enough credit for they all have individual personalities and they're all very different. Some of them are really spicy and some of them, particularly the giants, just like to loaf around and some want love all the time and some are a little more aloof. So I think that particularly with the giants, I think people are so amazed by them. That's the kind of initial interest. But then they come and they see them and they pet them and they just melt into your touch and they love the attention, and they're such comforting souls to be around.
Melting into your touch. That is the perfect way to describe it. There's something so peaceful about petting a rabbit. I remember our little Mia. She would sit next to me when I would work from home. And at the time, we just had an apartment. We had just gotten married. But that little bunny sitting there and letting me pet her just brought so much peace and happiness that this little creature is choosing to be next to me.
I can second that. Mia was so sweet. She would just sit on my lap and let me brush her, and even just seeing her eating her hay and carrots was so peaceful. And that's why I like that she pointed out that people don't give rabbits enough credit for their individual personalities. I too feel this is the case because our Mia was so kind and just loved to cuddle, but most people who have never had a bunny or been around one never understood us when we would share these moments with them. So bunnies in general just don't get enough credit because they are truly amazing animals.
Absolutely. And with rabbits the size of Nicole's, we can only imagine the double takes people are doing in the middle of the terminal. We asked her, what are the funniest or the most unexpected reactions she gets when people see a rabbit that big?
Well, again, particularly with the giants, people's reactions are pretty amazing. It's part of what I love so much about doing this is that a lot of people think of rabbits as, the rabbits they see in their yard hopping around, or rabbits they had as a kid that, were 5 pounds. That's like the typical size of a rabbit. So when they walk in and they see a 25 pound rabbit, they usually say, "Oh my god, I thought it was a dog that had rabbit ears, fake ears on." Or, is that real? Is that a rabbit? I didn't think it was a rabbit. I thought it was a toy." So I've gotten so many reactions, and just people are always shocked. Like, "What are you doing here? Why is this rabbit here? What is your purpose?" There's so many questions that come with it, but I think the faces of people and the reactions of people too, like I said, particularly the giants is just amazing. There's so many questions and they look like, even the adults look like children again. Their faces just absolutely light up. And same with the kids. They just drop what they're doing and come over and see the rabbits.
That's so funny, a dog with rabbit ears.
So much. They get that so much. They're like, "No, that's a dog." I'm like, "No, it's a rabbit." And they're like, "Really?" It's really, really funny. So many questions I never anticipated that people ask. It's really, really funny.
A dog with fake rabbit ears. That that is hilarious how people react to seeing huge bunnies and thinking that they are dogs.
That is funny, and what a sight to see. And those people's reactions are just pure gold. So we know that Nicole has been doing this for many years, and she doesn't just do this at airports. So we asked her if she could share a moment when she saw one of her rabbits truly change someone's life.
So there's one that I'll never forget. I have my first giant, her name was Gretchen, and she was a rescue. And we would go to this nursing home regularly for pet therapy, and a lot of the dogs would be there for a couple of hours and leave, and I always, with the rabbit, I always kind of got, behind. More people wanted to see the rabbit or spend time with them, but there was this one elderly woman, her whole family would be there each time, and I would just put Gretchen on her, and she would just lay there and just comfort her, and the whole family's faces would just light up, and they were so grateful for it. And she would just sit there with her and she would like talk to her, and just, it was just amazing to see. So, somebody in a nursing home or that situation day to day, and her face just light up, and she would talk to Gretchen and she would just pet her and just love on her. And, the family was so happy and they got so much from it. And they were just so profusely thankful every time I was there. And it was it was hard to take her away when it was time to leave, but that was really, really special. And I would always go out of my way to make sure that I think she was on the third floor and we didn't really go to that floor, but I always had to make sure that I spent time with her because it was just so nice to see and just the family lit up. It was such a nice experience.
What a gift to give someone. It really shows that sometimes a quiet, soft presence is more powerful than any words.
And Nicole going out of her way to go to a floor they didn't usually visit just to see that one woman, that's the heart of therapy work right there. And that's really special that Nicole does that. And the impact carries over to the airport too. Nicole mentioned something that really surprised her about the types of people who find comfort in the bunnies at the gate.
Every single day. Um, like I said, the people's faces, I don't know if they look horrified sometimes or if they look just absolutely shocked. You get those incredibly shocked faces that, you anticipate where their eyes just are the size of dinner plates and then their mouth is the size of a dinner plate and they're looking up to see if that's real. Or you hear somebody behind you or on the side say, there's a giant rabbit. And you're like, no, there's not. So yeah, it just the faces on people and saying, is this real? It happens constantly when I'm at the airport, when I'm out with them. Is that real? The kids are amazed by it. Look at that giant rabbit. And they run over and it's usually the parents that don't believe the kids. They're like, that's not a giant rabbit, that's a dog. And they're like, no. So for the kids to come over and be really excited. And then I've had people where they're like, oh, I have to show somebody, how long are you going to be here? So I'll follow them over to the gate. And they're so thankful for it because everybody's just so amazed and they have so many questions and things that I think I've taken for granted having rabbits since I was 6 years old. Like people will say, this is the first time I've touched a rabbit. I've never seen it. I didn't know rabbits came this big. Is this, do you give them steroids? I've had so many crazy questions from them. So people are just absolutely amazed. I love the faces. I should just take pictures of faces when I go out sometimes because I can literally picture them as I'm talking about this because it just makes me smile.
That's awesome. Are they on steroids? Oh my goodness.
Is this normal? Is I supposed to be this big?
Next thing you're going to know, do they eat like a giant carrot?
That's all the time. What do you feed them? What do they eat? Like, do you feed them something special to make them this big? There's so many questions that I get and they always make me laugh.
It's the fact that people ask her if her bunnies are on steroids. Like, no, it's just the breed of rabbit they are.
Yeah, that is funny. People's reaction to the size of these bunnies. And clearly, people are surprised when they see these big bunnies in person. So we had to ask Nicole, what's something people would be surprised to learn about doing this kind of work in public spaces?
Think it's probably that when you see a therapy animal, or when you say that you're doing therapy work, they think about, people who are stressed out, like, oh, people who are afraid of flying or people who are in nursing homes and things like that. But the number of people, especially in this environment where, they're traveling with all of their kids and their flight has been delayed and they are going to a really stressful event, just things that you don't think about day to day. Everybody kind of just thinks of it as, oh, it's just people who are nervous and afraid to fly. And that was my thought going in. But the majority of it is just people who are stressed out traveling or are, going to see sick family members or have had their flights delayed and they're stuck in the airport and this moment just really made them happy or smile. And now they're happy that their flight was delayed because they got to see the rabbits. So I think that's the thing that has surprised me the most is that it's not the situations that I necessarily expected that most of the people are, interacting with the rabbits for. So that's been really interesting to me.
That is the ultimate compliment. If you can make someone happy that their flight is delayed, you are a miracle worker. But honestly, if I seen 2 giant rabbits, I might forget I have a flight altogether.
That is true. And she showed us the real impact a bunny can have on someone's flight experience. Because it's not always that they're nervous about the flight itself. Sometimes maybe they're going to see a sick family member, or maybe they're just having a rough day. And to be able to have that bunny there and to be able to just be with them for a little while and have that comfort from them, I can see how that can really change someone's day for the better. Now, obviously, Nicole loves her bunnies, so we wanted to know what she loves most about bringing her bunnies to the airport.
The reactions are pretty special. Everybody that's so amazed by them. And like I said, their faces, and I can picture their faces. And just so many people say that this made their whole day. And like I said, they were happy that they got delayed. Who says that they're happy that they get delayed? Because they got to see the rabbits. And I'm on social media with the rabbit. So people who say, I fly, all the time, and I'm going to make sure I have a connecting flight in New England so that I can see the rabbits, or people who want to go out of their way to see the rabbits, or wondering when I'm going to be there to see the rabbits. It's really nice just to see the reaction. Like I said, I've taken for granted having rabbits for so long, but just the questions people ask and the amazement of people, I don't think I'll ever get over that. It's pretty special. I love my rabbits so much. And that's really why I started doing this, because I just love them. And I've loved seeing people love them as much as I do. So that's what really got me started to this. And to see that every single day I go out there is really, really special.
That's awesome, Nicole, that you can change someone's day. Because I know for a fact airports are just 100% stress. You got security, you got TSA, you have delayed, travel, you got, just a lot of things can go wrong in an airport. And then you come in with your rabbits. That's awesome.
Really now, like more than ever, there's delays and, TSA issues and things like that. And people are more afraid of flying and flying with families. There's so much stress in the world now. So to have people just interact with a bunny for a few minutes, and, they take pictures and they're sending them to people, and it's just really special. It's a really nice thing to just make somebody's day and have them tell you that.
It is really amazing to hear how those rabbits bring people so much joy and take away people's stress, even if it's just for a minute. Because nowadays, we all need that little break. And Nicole has built something super special over these last years. And maybe at this point, you're inspired and want to start something similar. If so, our next question is for you. We asked Nicole what advice she would give to someone who wants to start doing this kind of work.
Not get discouraged by, sometimes it's a process to get this done, or if you have a more unique animal that it's not a dog, sometimes it's harder to find a place that will certify them. And sometimes it's a little bit of a process. You have to go through a process of, watching modules. There's some training involved. There's an evaluation that has to happen. It could take some time. Or like I said, it took me a year to get into the airport with the paperwork and the things that they had to do on their end. So just don't get discouraged by it. There's, for the most part, going to be a group out there for you if you look or if you ask around that will accept your animal and that will work with you to get the animal certified and things like that. So just do your research, ask around if you know somebody. Like I said, I have my animals on social media, so reach out to people who are doing it, ask questions. Don't be afraid to do that. We're all learning every day. So just reach out to people who have done it. Don't get discouraged by the process. It really, really is rewarding, and it really, really is worth it.
Such solid advice. It might be a long process, but the payoff of making someone's day is clearly worth it. We want to thank Nicole again for joining us and showing us just how much impact a bunny can have on someone's day. And we hope one day to run into the incredible Berlin and Bon Jovi at the airport ourselves. If you'd like to check out and follow along with the amazing Bigbunlittledog, we've put the links in the description for you.
And we just want to take a moment to thank everyone who is subscribed or who likes, comments, and shares our episodes. We honestly appreciate it more than we could ever put into words, because you are making a dream of ours finally come to life in helping people share about what they love most about their animals in their lives. But today, we aren't asking for any of that. All we ask for is if you see someone out in public, whether it's at an airport or a hospital, working with a therapy animal, especially a unique one like a rabbit, thank them. because the patience it takes to train these animals to bring us comfort in our most stressful moments is something that should never go unnoticed.
Until next time, remember, animals don't need a single word to change your world. They just need to show up.